Okay, so in this lecture we'll talk about the business context of services, and we will begin with what exactly are services, just so we know what we're talking about here in the customer service module. What's the business behind it? So what are services? Well, some examples of service are an installation. We might install a laser somewhere, so the service of doing that is a service. Washing a car is a service. Cleaning an office building is a service. Inspecting a nuclear reactor core is a service. Rebuilding a jet engine is a service. Fixing a broken copier, painting a ship. So I think we all kind of intuitively know what services are, but I want to put out some specific examples out there because depending on the industry, there can be a wide variety of things, just as you saw up there. Everything from washing a car to fixing a nuclear reactor, lots of stuff. Usually a service is non-physical, so as opposed to, usually we say products and services. So usually the product is a physical box thing that we ship, and service is not physical. We're usually not shipping it. It's a service. But not all non-physical things are services. So the software license, for example, isn't a service. You might consider it a service product, but it's not a service we're performing. And then there's really a hot new category now that's you're seeing all over the place called subscriptions. So take software, for example. It's getting harder and harder to actually just buy software. Usually now you're buying a subscription to it. So for example, my wife bought QuickBooks the other day. We used to buy it as a CD. Now you have to pay a monthly subscription. So we're not going to cover that in this class, but that's really a booming sector. There's so many subscription-based offerings now out on the marketplace, and SAP is coming up with solutions to meet subscription-type billing. You think about cell phone billing, usage-based billing, so there's a whole module and area and integration with Hybris around usage-based billing that's out there. So just want to put that in your minds that the services are becoming more and more of a hot thing. Besides the fact that many companies have realized that they can make a lot of money off services, whereas it's sometimes more difficult to do that from physical products. So why sell services? Well, if you think about it from a business point of view, quite often they are very profitable, depending, of course. Not only are the services themselves profitable, but the services can be used to drive product sales, to upsell and cross-sell. So, you might sell a car washing service, or here's a better one. You might sell this happens all the time, a haircutting service, and at the end they try to sell you product of some fancy hair gel, right? So that's a service, and they're using it to drive the product sale of this fancy hair gel that they probably make a really good margin on. Services can often be a competitive advantage for your company if you offer additional services, better services than your competitor. A customer might look to you to get the complete package of the product and the service, versus maybe your competitor only has the product or a service that's not as good. And as we mentioned before, there are more and more digital products out there. So as we move into our digital world, not just software licensing, but streaming movies, everything, not everything, but many things are being delivered digitally. So that can often fit into a service model versus a physical product model. So how do we sell services? Well, and specifically, how do we sell services within SAP? A number of ways. So when you hear the word selling, that automatically leads you to sales. And usually that leads you to sales and distribution, the sales and distribution model. So anytime we're selling something, most of the time sales and distribution is going to be involved. We'll see. No, I would say anytime you're going to actually, if you want the customer to pay for it, sales and distribution is going to be involved. So there are a variety of ways to sell services, from very simple to very sophisticated. So for an example of a very simple service, you can simply create a debit memo and put a service material on there on that sales order of debit memo type and bill it. Same thing, you can put that same kind of a service material on a sales order line item and bill it from there. So very simple way just to sell a service and bill for it. And we will see examples of that in our course here. Kind of moving to the next level of complexity, moderate complexity, we've got service orders, which are a key part of the customer service module, which we will be going through in depth in this course, which allow you to collect the costs and execute the services and be your foundation for billing. And then you can get into really complex services where you set up a whole project and networks and use the project systems module of SAP. So if you're, let's say, rebuilding a nuclear reactor, for example, you might want to use project systems rather than service orders. You know, there's some gray areas. There's a lot of overlap there when you get into a more complex service. Do you use service orders or projects? Kind of the same thing where if you're building something really complex, do you use production orders, or if it gets really complicated, do you then start using project systems? Another type of more complex services are configurable services. So these are services where you're making a lot of choices. So for example, you could have a configurable service contract, for example, where you've got just one type of contract, but the customer is making a series of choices that they're being led through. What kind of contract? Gold, silver, bronze? How is it a monthly contract, an annual contract? How many things should it cover? So configurable in the sense that you're using configuration in SAP, not configuration, but configurable products, and making a bunch of choices in the sales order. And then we've got CRM. So if you want to tie the selling of services to an entire sales cycle where you've got leads and opportunities and things coming in up front leading to a sale of a service, CRM, SAP CRM, or just CRM as a business function, offers those additional things. And we'll talk a little bit about SAP CRM service in upcoming lectures.